And what particularly offends me about it is the co-option of truth. You know, if you come from the Gandhian perspective, if truth is this vicious, semi-barbaric, high-tech character from fantasy, what are we doing to ourselves?
We had Nina, so we had a lot of laughs, and we had the child, we had Isan, so we had the pure beauty to aspire to, and the dog. So we had a lot of advantages over in our group.
We would take 5 minutes to give an overview of what was going to happen in the hour, practically, and some introduction to the principles of nonviolence. Take 5 minutes to explain some meditation technique. 5 minutes to have everyone practice the meditation technique. 5 minutes to explain and do laughter yoga exercise. 5 minutes to explain and do the exercise of taking a partner and gazing into his or her eyes without speaking.
Nicer,
to
maybe.
Develop presence. And we saw all of those things, the meditation practice, the laughter yoga practice, and the eye gazing practice as developing the core of presence that are needed for people to respond in a nonviolent way. Then 30 minutes of various role-playing exercises, and 5 minutes to wrap up.
We figured that we need to have some time for the training team to get together without the students before the meeting time to hash out how it's going to go. And a lot of that is based on the demonstration of nonviolent relationships during the training among the trainers, kind of modeling how you and Michael relate to one another, as well as Day and his family and the location. You know, then at the beginning of the meeting, the overview of what's going to happen here. Move into, and ours is not fun. And it would be, I definitely want to incorporate some of the fun stuff in this group, but move into a kind of around the circle of introductions. Who are you? Where did you come from? Why are you interested in this training? And probably during the overview, say if anyone is here that wishes to engage in activism and believes that violent principles are called for, then this training is not really for you, and we're not interested in hearing that perspective during this training. And while during the go-rounds, we thought it would be good to use an hourglass to keep timing very nice. Then have another go-around of what do you feel are the most empowering principles of nonviolence before presenting any material at all, and then kind of go into a little bit of a more open discussion of basically the points on both sides of the card that we got, the numbered points as well as the examples of Dr. King and Gandhi. And then a kind of a brief time of what ifs. What if you're at a protest and this situation occurs? What if you're at a meeting and this dynamic is felt? And to be, I kind of threw that meeting in there. I felt it was pretty important because I've been at a lot of meetings where there is a claim of nonviolence, but the persuasive techniques and the hijacking of shared space verbally is something that's not helping the movement at all. And a little bit of a lightning fast how to build community presentation, and then for further information handout with web links, phone numbers, and addresses for everyone to take with them.
Instead of saying, we think that this discussion is not for you, would it be possible to say, we invite you to stay on the condition that you're not willing to be disruptive?
And then, in fact, if someone were not to keep the word that was asked for there, then you'd have a real deal opportunity to demonstrate and model the nonviolent principles and go to work.
The ultimate goal is to come together as one society, living together. And we felt that that would resonate with a lot of people and get them on board. And then we would talk about the overall principles of nonviolence, of focusing on the integrative power of nonviolence and how that can create a positive peace. Yes. And perhaps give an example of how nonviolence worked in South Africa.
Now that Nelson Mandela's out of prison and he's elected, how are we going to live together again as a culture? And so we took the strategy as explaining principles and explaining that nonviolence is a form of power, and then explaining what giving integrated power in different situations. It could be diverse depending if you wanted to only focus on media or you only wanted to focus on the police, depending on how much time you had left. We think that maybe doing too many, if we could get people to work on one at a time and do it really well, then you can come back and do another one and work. And then the idea of constructive program, which is, building the world you want without waiting for people to give it to you. A lot of people don't realize that this is part of nonviolence. So we thought an entire training dedicated just to describing what constructive program is, where it's worked, how it works, and then getting people to brainstorm on what might be constructive program in this movement would be a very powerful way of sharing nonviolence in the Occupy movement. So that could be an hour in itself. Yeah. What about just getting the groups, getting in a training with people with a chalkboard and going through the SWOT, going through the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? Because I thought that was a really powerful exercise. Making your own media leaflets, that are coming from the movement itself, I think is really powerful.
And that is profoundly Gandhian. Gandhi, probably the single most constant theme of his whole career was he always was writing. Every week for 50 years he was writing.
There's a film called A Force More Powerful, which shows different nonviolent resistant campaigns and how they trained and how they succeeded. And that could also be the basis of a training.
You look at the successful nonviolent revolutions. Serbia, they planned for 2 years. Egypt, they planned for almost 3 years.
It's my assumption that this particular movement is one that began with a set of hidden organizers who have not and will not reveal themselves. It would be too late at this point to say, oh, by the way, we're the ones that planned this for so long so that it took hold so fast. It's my assumption that this particular movement is one that began with a set of hidden organizers who have not and will not reveal themselves. It would be too late at this point to say, oh, by the way, we're the ones that planned this for so long so that it took hold so fast.
And typically in the past we've been spider organized, where there's a head, it's top down, and if you remove the head, the organization dies. With a starfish, it's much more spread out, is distributed, and you can't attack and jail just the leader or the leaders, and that can be a real strength.
I think we could have a really incredible training that combined elements from all three of these, and perhaps that was originally your intent
Yep.
in having us go through this exercise.